It's August, and for the second straight year, our beloved Reds are playing games that matter. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All right, I'm Jeff.
I'm Tom.
I'm Kim.
And this is the 3 Reds Fans podcast coming to you from Chez Jeanneret, just a few miles from the heart of Cedarville, the famous birthplace and final resting place of Reds pitching legend Bumpus Jones. We are poolside tonight, so if you hear a little gurgling in the background, that's just some ambiance.
Probably.
It's or my stomach because I didn't eat dessert. I'm still hungry. One of the two. So here we are. It's a beautiful evening outside. We have a beautiful view out the back here across lots of green fields and the aqua blue pool. And it's just a lovely evening, right?
It is. Lovely evening, lovely dinner, good company.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, even though you guys are here, it's pretty good company. So... well, as a listener to our podcast, thanks for being one of the most loyal Reds fans ever. We have a 5-star rating on the Apple Podcast app, but we love more ratings and reviews. Leave us a review there, a comment on our page on podbean.com or any other podcast app that lets you comment, and follow us on Twitter at 3 Old Reds Fans or on Facebook. You can just search 3 Old Reds Fans, the number 3, and find us there too. So, we're here to discuss the second place Reds, who are still trailing the Brewers, who don't seem to ever lose, except when we do. And the Padres, sort of the same thing, but we're only about 3 games behind them in the loss column. Yeah. For the wild card, for the right to play the Dodgers in a 1-game playoff. Ta-ding. So but hey, we'll take whatever we get out of that, and at least it's fun right now. So, I mean, for me, this last right after the break was rough. Castellanos got hurt. They seemed a little shell-shocked, but, man, they've been going crazy lately. And, of course, Votto's been on his home run tear, and Farmer's playing like a Hall of Famer for the last month. And, things are coming together. We got some help in the bullpen. We got some, everything's coming together as well as you could hope at this point, I suppose. Can they catch anybody? Who knows? Play some ball, win a bunch of games, and see what happens. But pretty fun. I'm having a good time.
And we have the hope of a bunch of players getting back. The Louisville Bats are a strong team right now.
Yes, they are.
I think all of us thought that when Castellanos went down, oh my, we thought that things might go south. But people have stepped up, like Farmer, like you said, and they're playing. It's fun to. I don't get to watch them.
No.
None of us do. But fun to follow.
Yeah, I watch some when the Dragons are at home and I'm covering those games. I see a decent amount. It's on in the press box up there, and the sound's usually down, but I'm usually, I'm watching one pitch in front of me, and then I look up at the screen and up beside me, and I'm keeping track. I get to see some stuff, and sometimes I'm in there writing, and they'll do the post-game stuff with Joey and bring him on there, and he's been a joy lately. Just some of the stuff, the reasons why he's pointing at his back, and he talks about that. And because
what is the reasons why he was pointing at his back?
There's a TV show on. It's one of those streaming shows on Apple TV called Ted Lasso. It's a sports show. I think.
Yeah, I watch it. I watched them all.
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's a guy there's something about pointing at their jersey. There's something from that show, and it's a shout out to that.
To that character.
And he's doing it for David Bell because David Bell loves it too. So he's doing all that for Bell. So that's what it's
I've watched all the shows. It doesn't ring a bell.
It doesn't ring a bell with you? So.
Great, funny show.
Is it? So was it a soccer?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an American football coach that gets hired to coach a Premier League soccer team. He has no idea what the pitch is or anything.
Okay.
Because, Southern accent, good old boy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny.
So I've not seen it, but that's the whole thing behind that. So,
okay.
And just and he was doing a Suarez impersonation one night. Jim Day, have a good day, Jim Day. All this kind of stuff. So it was fun, but it's been fun. So.
So what do you think the odds are? Are we going to catch the Brewers or are we going to catch the Padres?
Well, the Padres are closer.
Yep.
And the Padres have to play the Dodgers and the Giants a decent amount of times, I think. So that's, and they just lost Tatis again. So I don't know. I think the odds favor at this point catching the Padres before the Brewers, but I don't know. Who knows?
I think we talked on the last podcast, didn't we, last time, that how in the world are the Brewers continuing to win?
What is going on over there at the
She
pool?
fell into the pool.
Did she fall in?
Yeah. She was watering,
She's
stepped
watering
back
and stepped
fell
back
in.
and fell in. Okay. Too bad that couldn't be seen.
Yeah.
Only heard. Mrs. Jenneret was watering plants and backing up and fell in the pool. Oh my goodness. You saw it?
I saw her falling. I didn't.
Oh my goodness. Anyway.
Just another day.
Just another day. At Shea
Well,
Jenneret.
I'm going to tell you, obviously on paper it's the Padres, right, with Tatis on the 10-day IL and the Padres having to play the Dodgers and the Giants. But the Brewers, they've been so hot, but their schedule has been so friendly. Their schedule gets a little more tougher now, as if I understand it correctly. And for the Reds, it's just the opposite. So this is an opportunity to, we saw back the Reds make up like 7-8 games on the Cubs. Now, I know it was the Cubs, but this is 6 weeks ago. We didn't know that. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully they can make up some ground on the Brewers and the Padres. But on paper, you got to say, yes, San Diego's our better chance.
And Milwaukee's pitching is just off the chart. They lead the National League in runs against. So you would expect that to be like the Dodgers or Giants, but it's the Brewers.
Right. I mean, that's what they've been doing it with. How many times do you hear, well, pitching, you got to have pitching, you got to have pitching. And right now they have it, and they're doing the job with it. So what's coming up here for the Reds is sort of one of those problems you like to have, right? Too many guys for too many spots. So I put the current active roster together. I put who the guys are on the injured list, guys that might have options that might possibly matter. I mean, like Jonathan India has 3 options, but Jonathan India is not a guy who's going to get sent down, so I'm not really bothering with that as an example. Right now they're carrying, 9 relievers. Brock, Sessa, Doolittle, Garrett, Givens, Hembry, Hoffman, Lorenzen, and Wilson. So they just traded for Sessa, Wilson, and Givens, so they feel like they're going to stick around, right? Hembry is definitely going to stick around. Garrett's going to stick around. Lorenzen's going to stick around. That leaves Doolittle, Brock, and Hoffman. So so they have 4 guys on the injured list right now. Antone, who has options, but I don't imagine Antone anywhere but in Cincinnati. I can't imagine he would get healthy and they'd say, we're going to send you to Louisville for a while. I don't think that's happening. The other guy who has options is Art Warren. He's got 2 options. I can see him staying in Louisville. Does anybody disagree with that? Especially with what we've added? They're nodding their heads in agreement with me. Lucas Sims. I gotta figure Lucas Sims is going to be on the active roster when he comes back, don't you?
You would think.
I mean, you would think. So, and then Michael Feliz is the other, and Feliz has no options. So Feliz is a guy who, if you bring back, you got to set somebody down, or you DFA him, and he either takes an assignment somewhere and clears waivers and all that, or he decides he wants to be a free agent and sign with somebody else. So that's what's going on there. So I think Antone and Sims are definites to go back on. If those are the only 2, who are the 2 guys that get sent down? And none of these guys that are active right now have options.
Oh, okay. I would think Brock would probably get set down.
And he's like 35, so he's probably going to I want to be a free agent. Or he might say, I'll hang out here because if somebody else gets hurt, I'm the first guy they call. And that's probably what they would tell him. So who would be the other one?
Doolittle.
Doolittle. Who would you vote for, Doolittle or Hoffman?
Vote for which way?
To
flip a coin.
To get rid of, to keep. Who would you rather keep, Hoffman or Doolittle? Boy, that's a tough one, isn't it? I think I'd rather keep Hoffman.
The only thing, Doolittle was hitting 96.8 the other night. Where'd that come from? You know,
I
so
know. And then he threw that breaking ball, which he shouldn't have thrown.
I agree with that. It was still a very good pitch.
Yeah.
It was still a good decision, let me put it that way. And it was still a good pitch. If I remember correctly, Smith went out of the strike zone and he barely got the bat on it.
Right, yeah.
Barely got it
Right.
in the
And
outfield.
everybody's like, why Doolittle, why Doolittle? Well, you know, he made some pretty good pitches, and the guy got a hit.
He did. I don't think it
happens.
matters which one you get rid of, to be honest with you. Maybe Doolittle has an advantage because he's a lefty.
Yeah.
Well, that's an advantage, and Hoffman has an advantage that he can do multiple innings if you need it, and he can be a spot starter if you need it. So, I think both of those. I think that's interesting. I think Brock is a guy that goes, unless one of these other guys, like let's say Justin Wilson, just falls apart and can't get anybody out the next 2 or 3 times he pitches. Well, then he could be a candidate for that. But
Which, by the way, a good friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine, Yankees fan, said Sessa will help you, Wilson will not.
yeah, well, Wilson didn't do anything good with the Yankees this year, but you know he's had success in the past, so that makes sense that he would say that. You know. Because he was like his ERA was like 7, but
Right.
I'm glad to hear him say that about Sessa though, that he feels good about Sessa. And of course we've got our starters, and there's nothing happening there.
If one of them go down, who comes up from Louisville?
That's a good question. If it's 1 or 2 starts, they might put Hoffman in there. Santillan probably, because he's been there this year. I don't think.
You don't think they'll bring in
I don't
Green
think
or
they'll
the
bring.
kid up from AA?
I don't think they'll do that in a
He's a
pennant
triple
race.
A.
I know now he is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Ladova just went to AAA. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you do that in a pennant race? Bring up a prospect like that
I wouldn't.
for the first time?
Surprised Tom says, yeah, that's a rookie.
No, I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
I think you go with a guy who's at least done it some.
Santillan. And done it with some marginal success.
Yeah, he's had some good
Very
outings.
marginal, but
He's had some good outings.
and he seems to be a good batter.
But yeah, you still need that in the National League. So catchers, not making any moves at catchers. Obviously, we've got 2, and nothing's happening there. But infield, outfield. So you got Blandino coming off the IL, and he has an option. I think with the way this team's constructed, he probably goes to AAA.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree? I can't imagine unless somebody else gets hurt.
Yeah.
And then Moustakas is coming off as an infielder, and he will stick. So Freeman has 1 option, and Schrock has 2 options. What do you think?
Well, Schrock, if he keeps hitting, it'd be hard to send him down.
Exactly. What do you think, Kim? Think Freeman goes down?
Wasn't he batting 188?
Yeah, I mean he's
I think
filler.
it's sort of an easy choice.
He's filler right now. Yeah, I think so. So,
I think the bigger question is, where do you put Moose?
well, we'll get to that. That's coming. That's coming. Right now, we're like, who's the 26 guys once everybody's healthy? So I think that's pretty obvious. Freeman goes. You got 2 outfielders coming off, Castellanos and Senzel. Senzel has 3 options, but I can't imagine them sending Senzel to AAA. So you could bring back Moustakas, Castellanos, and Senzel, send down Freeman. Then you got to pick 2 more guys. You know?
Freeman and
Blandino,
right?
Yeah. Well, no, Blandino's going to go down, but he's on the IL already.
Oh, okay.
So of guys that are on the IL that are gonna stick on the active roster when they get healthy here soon are Moustakas, Castellanos, and Senzel.
Right.
You got to dump 3 guys. You could dump Freeman and Schrock as 2 infielders, and Schrock's playing outfield tonight for like the first time. And then you got Akiyama with 3 options. You got Aquino with no options. You got Naquin with 2. Based on experience and inexperience, Freeman, Schrock, and Aquino, sort of the least experienced of those guys, seem, if they go that way, is there a world where they say, you know, we're going to move Shogo down. But I can't see them doing that, can you?
No.
No.
Not with what they're paying him.
Aquino's disappointed. I know a few weeks ago you and I were talking about him, and you said that he seems to be having better at-bats and this and that.
But he's slumped ever since.
I haven't seen that period, though. I haven't, even when you said, although he was the only one that got the hit that day against Stroman, right? I just haven't seen that with him. He's flexing at first when he gets a single.
Well, he did that once, yeah. I would say he's not having as good of at-bats as some of the more established players. I think some of his at-bats, he was showing some more patience in some at-bats than he had in the past. So I think he's made a little progress in that. But kind of ever since I said that, he really hadn't hit.
Well, the value of him, obviously, is he can go yard, plays a decent right field, decent, good arm.
Yeah, he's made a couple big plays out there.
I just don't know. I don't know if I would keep him.
Yeah, I think he goes down. And the thing is, I'd hate to lose him because he has no options, and you could end up losing him. I'd hate for that, but,
Worse things
have happened, yeah. Exactly.
It's great to be in this position. There's other years we've felt like everybody on the field was really should have been in AAA. Right.
Right.
So this year we're having good problems.
Exactly. So I don't know. I think Aquino and Freeman for sure, and probably end up being Schrock because he's got two options. I mean, despite the fact that he had 5 hits the other day, how much is he really going to play when all those other guys are back?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he continues to hit or
now,
not.
if he gets 3 hits tonight, then he starts to get you thinking.
Yeah.
But, all things being equal, yes, I agree with what you just
All right.
said.
So I think we've come to pretty conclusion there about who's probably going to stick and who's going to go back to Louisville or end up getting released, if they don't clear waivers. So here's the current. I was on Fangraphs. They have all this information. And they list on their depth chart that they do on there the current go-to lineup versus right-handers that they use, which is the most common lineup, right? Versus right-handers. So here's the most common lineup versus right-handers right now: India, Winker, Farmer, Votto, Naquin, Barnhart, Suarez, Akiyama. So when Castellanos comes back, that's pretty easy. He gets right field.
Yep.
And that's kind of the Naquin spot. Okay? So if Castellanos is the first guy back, Naquin's playing split in center field with Akiyama, probably.
And maybe Naquin should play more than Akiyama.
And if you're saying split, I would not say it's a 50-50
I know
split
I wouldn't
by
call it
any
a 50.
means.
I wouldn't call it a 50-50. I'm just saying sharing time. Divide that up how you will and how Bell will based on what happens.
Okay.
Then you've got Moustakas. And you have an interesting decision to make at third base because at one time Moustakas comes back, Suarez goes back to short, but not, you can't take Kyle Farmer out of the lineup right now. Now, if he goes in a tailspin, things get different, but I can't see him going. He's going to cool off a little bit, but I don't think he's going to go into a tailspin either. So,
are either Moustakas or Farmer going to hit 200 or less? They're not.
They're not going to hit as many home runs as Suarez.
True. Well, Moose could.
One thing, too, is we're talking about hitting. Farmer's defense has been pretty much lights out.
It's been good. It's been
Suarez, put him in his his customary position at third. He's struggling.
Yeah.
Put him at short. He's
just struggling, period.
Struggling would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. So the question becomes, how much does Moustakas play? And how much does Suarez play? I mean, do you bench Suarez? What do you do? I mean, I think that's a tough decision in my opinion. To some people it's easy. He's hitting 175, put him on the bench. But I don't know if it's that easy.
How do you sit Suarez? How do you sit Moustakas? Both of those are really hard questions. But you're right. If you just look at stats, you would say it's a no-brainer. But I know there's a lot more to that on the team.
Well, and Moustakas hadn't done that much this year, but he hadn't been around, so I don't even remember what he was hitting when he got hurt. But it doesn't even really matter because it's been so long. You can't he could come out hot, he could be cold.
And then there's when he came back before off the injured list, which seems to be a lot of guys, they struggle for the first 12, 15 at-bats.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
And so if it's over 12 versus 170, but, if you want to win, a 170 batting average plus a 200 batting average in 60 games last year, you play Moustakas.
All right. So he plays, and if you're managing the team, you play Moustakas more. And what would you?
100%. I'd do the same thing.
I think I'd certainly. I think you have to lean that way. You have to start. He has to play some. I don't know how much the split is. I don't think you bench Suarez and bury him on the bench and never play him. But so then the real question is, what's David Bell going to do? That's what really matters, right? It's fun to talk about what we think, but what is he going to do?
He could bench Farmer.
I don't think he'll do that. It'd be a
I don't
revolt.
either. He could, sure, but I don't think he will either. Unless Farmer goes into an 0 for 20.
Yeah, of course.
Right now, Farmer has been, not only has he been producing, he is such a leader. He is such a player. I think the team looks up to him. He does the things you ask him to do.
Yeah, he does. Okay, all right. So I think regardless of the splits or how much whatever, Suarez's playing time is going to take a hit. How much of a hit will be, that's up to David Bell and what he's going to do in consultation with others. And it could also depend on how well Moustakas hits and like you said, what Farmer continues to do. And
I can't remember. Is Moustakas a lefty hitter?
Yes.
They could go right left with
could.
him and Suarez.
They could, which means, Moustakas will play more.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay, interesting. Now, what about the outfield? Who's going to play?
Well, we know who the left. All right, let's say
when you get Castellanos and Senzel back, so then you've got an outfield of Castellanos, Senzel, Winker, Naquin, and Akiyama probably.
You know who's going to be in left and right.
Yep, I was going to say that.
So who's going to be in center?
Well,
it's probably a matchup thing for Bell. He goes for the analytics, right?
Yep.
Could be. I mean, honestly, as much as I would like Nick Senzel to really take hold of a position like Jonathan India has this year, he hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
Part of it's been injuries, but he hasn't been he's not shown in the consistency and produced at that level. So I don't think Senzel has earned you're going to play center field every day. But I think he's going to. Would you agree with that, Kim?
I do.
Because I know you've been high on him, but I think history is what it is.
No one
right?
plans for injuries, and
Right.
this guy has. Not only does he have injuries, he has illnesses, right? Vertigo multiple times, and then he had COVID.
Yeah.
So the guy has just had so much against him. But I agree with you. He hasn't earned the right to be out there. He still has to prove himself, and first thing he has to prove is that he can stay healthy.
Yeah. I think it becomes the hot hand. Who's hot? I think that's going to happen. Akiyama's had an opportunity. He hasn't really.
No, he hasn't.
He's had more opportunity lately. Hasn't gotten hot. Hitting maybe a little better lately, but nothing to write home about.
Maybe you go with defense because they're all about the same offensively.
Yeah. So.
All right, and if you go defense, it's still for me. It's tough either way.
That's true.
Akiyama or Senzel, both I like having him in center field.
Yeah.
Naquin's a nice center fielder too.
He has a great arm.
He does.
And I think he's deceptively fast, but in terms of the best defenders, if you would, I would say Akiyama and Senzel. Take your pick, but nothing to sneeze at with Naquin. You're right. That rocket arm he's got.
He does.
So we play. This is something I didn't look up. Do we play any games in American League parks the rest of the year?
I do not think we do. I think we're done, but I do not know.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Well, because
He's thinking
then you
DH.
got a DH to, that gives some at bats to some people. If you had 6 of those games or 5 of those games left, that's that many more at bats for 1 or 2 guys. Picking up some at bats. So, just wondered. Just wondering. I'm not here to politic for the DH right now in the National League. Everybody, if you've ever listened to this podcast, you know how I feel about that and how wrong these guys are.
Amazing how you slipped that in.
Anyway, so okay, I think we've come to. I think that's probably the conventional wisdom. Is there a unexpected thing David Bell could do that anybody's wondered about or thought about out of all this? I can't come up with one. I think Moustakas is going to get opportunities, and since Suarez is going to get fewer, Castellanos will play every day, and center field will be rotated. And if Castellanos or Winker needs a day off for some reason, one of those guys can play. And if one of them gets nicked up a little bit, hopefully that doesn't happen. One of those guys, I mean, we've got backups. We don't have, like, guys who've never done it before. So, because Naquin's been a pleasant surprise this year overall.
Very much so.
He's, you know, he's slumped a little while, but then he seems like a couple games recently he had some big hits. So
I am worried about Castellanos coming back. Is he still going to be what he was before he was injured?
Oh, I don't know. Who knows?
You just want to make sure that hand is a good 95 to 100%. You know, you don't want to come back too early and aggravate it. Now, the other day they had pictures of him in batting practice, and he was hitting it over the wall, but that's batting practice.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Practice. I'm talking about practice.
I mean, I think we're all optimistic. Castellanos comes back, and they're playing well already. If Moose can come in and hit better than Eugenio, then, I mean, you're talking about a big injection of offense there.
Right. And,
So it comes down to the bullpen.
Right, because the offense hasn't been the problem. But with this bullpen, you can never have too much. So boosting the offense is always a good thing because you know, Farmer, like I said, he's going to keep hitting over 500 like he has for the last month. That's not going to continue. Votto's not going to keep hitting a home run every night. So as certain other guys sort of cool down, you hope other guys get hot, and having as many good players in the lineup increases that opportunity, right?
So I'm going to be Captain Obvious here. For the Reds to get to the playoffs, it's all up to the bullpen.
Well, I think so.
And we can't have a starter, you know, go down. That would really hurt, too.
No. And you can't have a rash of bad starts. I mean, you're going to get, all right, a couple times at least.
Sure.
A couple of these guys aren't going to get past the fifth. I mean, they're going to give up 4 or 5 runs. It's going to happen.
Right.
It happens. And the bullpen's going to give up some runs. You know, they're going to give up some runs. They just can't blow a bunch of leads.
Right.
They can't blow 4 and 5 run leads. Yeah, when you're up 1 run and they get a run in the 8th or 9th inning, you know, that happens to the best teams and the best bullpens. And that happened on Saturday, and it was disappointing, but that wasn't like one of those implosions of having a 4-run lead and giving it away in the 8th inning either. I mean,
It still hurt.
It still hurt.
Oh.
It hurt. I know it hurt, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, our bullpen is terrible again. They gave out, you know, they scratched out a run, and then we didn't get anything done in the extra inning.
It was self-inflicted, Jeff. They
Well,
scratched out a run. It was a walk and then a wild pitch.
I know. But at the same time, for them, that's sort of manufacturing a run, and for us, it's giving one away. So I guess I'm just looking at it from both
I'd
ways.
say just don't give it away.
Don't give it away. Yeah. That leadoff walk is a killer. You don't have to. You can pitch decently after that, and they can still get a run.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Well, this is episode number 54.
54.
Yeah. So who's a current Red wears number 54?
There's a current Red that wears 54? Got to be a pitcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
No idea. I can't watch the Reds this year.
I know.
That's true. That's hard.
So you lose track of who's what number.
It's got to be one of these. All right, so Osage or
No, he's a starter.
starter?
Yeah.
Is it Gutierrez?
No.
Miley?
No.
No, it's not Miley. It's not Molly.
At least two guys.
Castillo, no, he's 58.
Sonny Gray?
Sonny Gray is 54.
He is?
Yeah.
That's a linebacker's number.
That's a weird number for him to pick.
So who was another pitcher of the past decade that wore number 54?
There's no way we're going to know that. Just tell us.
One of our best pitchers of the past
Mario Soto.
No, of the past decade.
Oh, decade.
For who, the Reds?
Yeah.
Johnny Cueto.
No, he's a reliever.
Aroldis.
He was our closer, Aroldis
Chapman.
Chapman, from 2010 to 2015. All right, here's one. This guy, okay, I'll give you this. Okay, he pitched in the 80s and 90s. He wore it for 1 year, like his first year probably. After that, he was number 32.
Tom Browning.
1984, he wore number 54. All right, here's a name from the past. Do you guys remember the name Chad Mottola?
No.
Oh, you don't? So in 96, he wore number 54. He was a first-round pick in 92. He was an outfielder, and he was good in the minors, and he was a big prospect, and he never panned out in the majors. So he had 125 at-bats with like 4 teams in the majors and never panned out. So some of our listeners will know that name. But
That's a lot more than Archibald Moonlight Graham got
that's right, 0 for 0. So
with a sac fly.
with the sack fly, yes. You know who that is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Chisholm,
If you build it,
Minnesota.
they'll come.
That's right. That's
Felicia.
Right. Yes. She'll be thinking I got a girlfriend. I better get home. Yeah, that's one of Burt Lancaster's last roles, probably. Had to be. So, all right. So this team, I think we're gonna have fun here, unless they just sort of have a bad week and totally fall out of it. But I hope they don't. I hope they just at least stay within striking distance. And
How many blown saves have we had?
I don't know.
If you cut those in half,
some of
I
the-
think we've been in the 20s. You cut those in half. Let's say you cut it down to 25%. That's 5 games. You're ahead of the Padres, and you're right there behind the Brewers.
I know.
It's an easy. It's an oversimplistic statement, but it's there.
It's there. And I'll tell you what, if you just count blown saves, you won't find all the blown games. Because think of the situation for a blown save, and how many times have we been up like 4 runs and given it away? That's not a blown save.
So my down to 25% is conservative, is what we're saying.
Yeah. I mean, the games that if you went back, it would be interesting. I haven't seen anybody do this, but it would be an interesting exercise to go back and look at every game, look through the season, look at all the losses and the ones you could pin on the bullpen, and how many that is. Now, you can't say we should have won every one of them because everybody's bullpen blows some games, right?
Right.
That's going to happen. But, yeah. And there's easily enough there
And
that
that's
we could
why
be
I texted
right
you
there with
guys
the Brewers.
earlier. I was so upset with the front office because this team is competing, and this team with a bullpen could contend.
I know.
And
Agree.
we've lost so much ground because they waited.
Well, we let Iglesias and Archie Bradley go for nothing.
Well, Iglesias had worn out his welcome. We say that now, but remember he didn't want to pitch unless it was in a save situation, and he was not performing. So Monday morning quarterback, now looking at how well he's been doing for the Angels and what our bullpen's not been doing, it's an easy statement. But when they traded him back then, I wasn't so upset they traded him. It's just I thought they should get more than 2 bags of potato chips.
Well, I agree, and I didn't think that. Well, I think, in my opinion, is if that's all you're gonna get, don't trade him.
I don't disagree with that.
That was my thing, and so I don't really know what Archie Bradley's done this year, but to be honest, I don't know if he's even what he's done at
Me
all.
either.
I haven't paid attention, but just knowing that you had 2 guys like that and you didn't try to sign them, who were proven, was disheartening, and they tried to piece it together. The Lorenzen injury didn't help. That didn't help. Antone and Sims getting hurt here didn't help. And, some of the guys they thought were going to pitch better, like Sims wasn't all that great early on when he had been really good last year. Of course, Antone came out of nowhere.
Yes.
And so
I mean, the pleasant sight on the pitching staff was Antone and Gutierrez. Those guys have been just a pleasant surprise.
Well, and I think Miley bouncing back this year.
Yes.
And being
because he did nothing last year to speak of.
No, and he wasn't.
He was injured.
He wasn't healthy, but he's been great this year. Just think if we'd have kept Alex Wood around because he's pitched pretty well.
Reminds me of Tom Browning. He gets on the mound. You know, Tom can talk about this when he played, but I loved playing behind a pitcher who would get on the mound, get the ball, and go.
Yeah.
You know, loved it.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is I think Brantley or somebody was talking about this the other night. It's like, or the guy working with him, Tommy, was talking about it. They were having this discussion of Miley is very he thinks through what he's doing, right? He's not just up there rearing back and throwing. Yet he works quickly.
Yes.
He knows so well what he wants to do. He doesn't have to take time to think about it. He just knows. He's developed to that level of a pitcher, and that's really cool.
He's confident in his stuff. He's confident in his thinking. I agree.
Yeah. So he just goes. So anyway, all right. Anything else? Wrap her up. Anybody want to see Hunter Green or Nick Lodolo pitch in the major leagues this year?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
I really don't, because if we do, it's one of those
right.
exactly.
Right.
Okay,
Not for
might as well bring him up, give him an experience
Yeah.
for next year. We're not in it.
Well,
I agree.
I'll tell you what. If the Reds are in it in September, I may have to get Major League Package to finish out the season to watch them. I don't know if you can even do that.
No, you can't because it's blacked out.
It's got to be. There's no way to get it.
There's no way to get it
Unless I get
unless you
Dish
switch
or
to
DirecTV.
Yeah, you got to switch services.
Newman.
Or you can go to Helmick's house every night.
I'm sure they'll be. I'll just look through their window.
Or
Yeah, it's a big one.
I can go over to my father-in-law's place every night and watch. He'd probably
Really?
let me. Yeah, they get it.
I can head down there
Yeah,
myself. I'm a lot closer.
You're closer.
Gordon.
Oh, my. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Let's get out of here. It is early August. Hopefully the dog days of August will be kind to us. Yes, sir.
I do want to say, which one of us three predicted the Reds to have a winning record this year? Who was that, Jeff?
I think it was
are you
Mr.
looking at
Jeff
me?
Gilbert.
I think I said 85.
So it'd be 85
I hope
and
it's more than
77?
I hope it's more than that. But I said 85.
You were the only
You
one.
and I
were the
felt,
only
and
one,
I
Jeff.
felt, and when I said 85, in my heart I felt I was being conservative because you guys had already said like 70 some, and I was like, oh man, what am I going to say? But so I went with 85.
Now, when we said that, we're going back to the year before when the team batted like
Yeah,
201.
they didn't hit.
They had no hitting whatsoever. Castellanos last year was undisciplined at the plate. He would not take a. You go back and look. That's where I was coming from in terms of the Reds. They had nothing at the plate, and you had lost Trevor Bauer.
Right.
Sonny Gray was injured,
Right.
and so put all that together, and I just didn't feel good about it. So keep in perspective.
Excuses.
Winker stayed healthy this year. Winker stayed healthy this year.
Did anybody expect Winker to have the year he's having this year? Okay.
You guys
Kim
have
did.
got to admit,
Yeah.
I
You've been
have.
a Winker fan.
And when he came up in the minors, one of y'all said, "Oh, he doesn't hit home runs." So give him time. Give him time. And this guy can hit.
Yeah.
He's got
he's
got
proven
more
that.
walks than Votto. Now Votto's swinging a lot more, but that's still saying something because Votto, he still has a keen eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, even you couldn't have expected them to hit like they hit this year.
No, I didn't. I don't know what I expected. I just thought things would meld together pretty well, and they'd win more than they lost. I didn't expect them to go win 95, but they gotta. I don't know that they're gonna win 90, but I think they can definitely win that 85. That may not be enough to matter, but I'll still feel pretty good about them as a team. And here's what I'll say: if they win 85 games, whether that gets them in the postseason or not, I feel good about what's on the guys on the field and in the clubhouse, and managing the team on the front lines.
Agreed.
The front office is another story.
Agree, because you and
when
I
I
have
say
talked-
front office, I mean the guy with the money
yes,
controlling that, and not wanting to spend
Now,
some of his billions.
when we went to see the Reds a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this, Tom, and I'm concerned about Castellanos being back next year. Now, trading for these guys, and you saw that Nick did an interview and saying this is good decision, this is what we want, da 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 da. I love it, but he holds all the cards this year. Last year, pandemic shortened season, he didn't play all that great. This year, obviously, he's been an MVP candidate before the injury, still could be. He's definitely going to exercise that free agent route, right?
I mean, I think he's gonna put himself out on the market. The Reds.
But you go out and you try to sign him. I think I texted y'all yesterday. Maybe I think there's a good chance Tucker Barnhart's not with us next year. Stevenson's going to only get better. Stevenson's going to only hit more home runs. You go out and you get another Kurt Casale to be the backup.
Right.
And so you save some money that way. And if you can leverage all these little pieces to put that money in front of Castellanos and stay here, because Votto's going to be here. Let's hope he continues to be Votto. India continues to improve. You have Moustakas again. Winker's going to be there. Let's say Senzel stays healthy. We talked about Stevenson.
Yeah.
I think then the pieces are in place because you're going to have a decent starting lineup if Gutierrez continues like he has been. And I'm really excited about Lodolo. I think he's a true pitcher. I really do. I don't know about Hunter Green yet. We know he can hum it. But I'm excited about the starting pitching.
But
The
Kim,
starting pitching is deep in the whole organization right now.
And when you say the whole organization, I'm talking parent club and AAA.
Yeah, it's deep. It's deep down to double.
But I'm looking at who's going to be available for them next year.
Next year, yeah.
Those two levels.
But Kim, Castellanos is going to look, you go to the free agency, you look for a multi-year. Would you give him 3 to 5 years?
No. But
okay, so you're saying that they should let him go?
No, I would talk to him. I would talk. Would he do 2 years?
If he gets a good offer for 3 to 5 years, would you take 2 years with the Reds?
If I'm looking strictly at money and who the other team is, the answer is going to be most people are going to say no.
Hindsight usually.
I want one of those guys who, you know what, I really wanted to stay here.
I know.
As much as you don't like a Tom Brady, look at how much money he gave up. Michael Jordan for years, smart man. He lived off his endorsements. His salary in the NBA was nothing.
Didn't mean anything.
Go ahead and pay Pippen. Go ahead and pay whether it be Ho Grant or Rodman or one of those guys, and 3 centers and shooting 3-point specialists all these years to keep the team going. I want a guy like that who will be on the Reds and say, "Okay."
I would too, Cam.
I wish we had Votto at 28 doing that.
Yeah, you just don't. It doesn't work that way in baseball as much.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you, Kim, but I don't feel good about that.
Yeah. I don't either. The Reds.
But that's my point. We're not going to have Nick next year, probably. So we got to build that up. But if you can leverage those pieces, and then maybe you do. How old is Nick Castellanos? Do we know?
He's late. He's
32.
No,
20?
He's not that old. Go ahead, keep talking.
Okay, so I'm going to say you're going to say late. So I'm going to say 29. If he's 29, I do give him 3 to 5 years.
Maybe you give him 3 years.
I do give him 3 to 5. If he's 29 years old, yes. I thought he was like 32.
I will tell you in 2 seconds. He is 29.
So I asked you
guys. He's about
guys.
29 and a half right now.
Okay, so do you give him 3 to 5 years at 29 and a half? I do.
I would. I think you could bank on a good 3 to 5 years.
Because you've got Winker under control, you got India under control, you got Stevenson under control.
It's a chance.
You got Moustakas a couple of more years.
It's a chance to have a good, solid core in there and not have to rely on what's coming up. Because I don't know, outfield-wise, there's not a guy like him. They got center fielders coming, they got single hitter guys coming. They don't have I can't think of a guy coming up in their system right now that profiles anything like Castellanos.
I mean, this is a career year for him. He's never had a year like this before.
Well, yeah, he's had good years though.
He has.
I mean, he's had 26, 23, 27 homers. He had 100 RBIs, 89 RBIs.
But he hasn't had an average year like this, right?
He's a 278 career hitter. He's a
100 points higher
He's
than Suarez.
He's an 810 OPS career, 329 career on base. I mean, he played in Detroit when they weren't winning, and the only guy you ever heard about in Detroit is Cabrera. You know, that's the only name you ever. It's like, oh, name a Tiger. Oh, Miguel Cabrera. You couldn't name another Tiger all those years. He played really well when he went to the Cubs for that half season.
Bill Freehand.
Bill Freehand.
Eddie Brinkman.
Go back to, well, you are old. Go back to the 70s. Mickey Lolich. Gates Brown.
And then there's the part. Willie Horton.
Willie
Not the George Bush Willie Horton.
You guys are weird.
No, or was that Mike Dukakis?
Yeah.
There's the aspect, too, that...
We almost finished this show like 10 minutes
I know, but I wanted to give you props about the record.
Yeah,
the
okay,
project.
go
That's
ahead.
where it came.
I interrupted you.
There's the aspect, the angle, whatever of if I'm that young and I can hit. All right, forget Colorado and rarefied air. GABP is known for the ball going out, and that aids to Castellanos' numbers. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, if I keep playing in here, I'm going to be able to do X,
true.
Y, Z.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, does that matter when you're looking at $5 more million from a New York or Chicago? Because you know the Cubs are going to be in a position that they could get him back.
It could be. I don't know what they're going to plan to do. Are they going to go? Do they want to go out and bring in and pay money to try to rebuild quickly, or do they want to go the long? Are they going for the long rebuild? I don't know what they're doing.
Nick Castellanos, I believe, has been on record saying he enjoyed his time in Chicago.
Yeah, I think Nick Castellanos was happy anywhere. He seems like a guy that just enjoys baseball and life.
When he first came to the Reds, the thing that stands out about him was David Bell doing his Price imitation and pulling guys out in the 7th and 8th inning. And you remember what Castellanos did after one night? He had the batting coach hit fly balls to him in right field because he wanted to stay in the game. And David Bell went and had a talk with him. I'm guessing because Bell didn't like that because how it looked, the optic of it, right? But I'm sure Castellanos says, listen, I sign here because I want to play. But that showed me I will do what it takes.
Yeah.
And that said something to me about Castellanos. That was after one of the first games he played in a Reds uniform.
Huh. I didn't know that story.
I think he's hungry. He's been an everyday player since he was 22 years old. And, and he's had a decent career. He just made his first All-Star team. And I think he's hungry to be one of the best players in baseball the next 5-6 years. I think he's hungry for that. So, anyway, all right. So, I think we would all agree it'd be nice to keep Nick Castellanos around for a couple more years. Can we agree on that?
No doubt.
No doubt.
All right, guys. Let's wrap it up. So, next time we talk, I don't know. Reds, hopefully they're still in it. We're not here doing their obituary.
Hopefully, like this show, the Reds will make a splash.
Yes. And hopefully, whether intended or unintended. All right. Well, with that, as we always say,
Go
Reds.